to do a response to a really interesting tape that YouTube that Max Egan did. He covers really well why we're in the situation that we're in as far as the water goes. And he breaks down the aquifers that are stealing the aquifers that are drying up because of the fracking that's going on. And he also goes into the geoengineering in Australia. He breaks down quite well, I think, it's here, where is it? Now, he talks about, one of the things that he talks about is this thing here, and this is the combustible compositions for generating aerosols, particularly suitable for cloud modification and weather and aerosols process, okay? And it talks about all of the different ingredients, and some of the ingredients are things like strontium, barium, aluminium, okay? And they're aerosolized into very small particles, okay? And they're sprayed from the sky. Now, it keeps going over here, combustible compositions, a combustible composition, a combustible composition. Now, what he also discovers, and I give him full kudos for this, is basically that there's the same ingredients that are in sparklers. Barium nitrate, potassium nitrate, strontium nitrate, okay, aluminium, iron, titanium. So I thought I'd have a look at that, but I'm not discrediting anything that Max has said. I think that it's brilliant, but I wondered if I could posit a different hypothesis. Okay, so here's what we know. We know that we have rainmaking capacity. Okay, we bought it from the King Boomerpole. Okay, so we have the capacity to actually do that. There's several different ways of making rain, by the way, which I won't go over because this is just a short video. Okay, now we also know here that we've got the Senate, the Committee on Commerce, Science, Transportation. Okay, the activities and weather modification. Okay, so it goes through there, and I'll include all of these links below the video, of all of the different Senate hearings on the weather modification. Okay, and it says here, cloud seeding has been responsible for the great 5-year drought in the northeast United States. Okay, just something to think about there. Okay, now we also know US blocks UN resolution on geoengineering, basically that goes on to talk about that. And we also know that Russia urges UN climate report to include geoengineering. Basically, they think it's hacking the weather. They don't think it's a good idea. I think that they've banned the geoengineering over Russia. Anyways, now what was really interesting is a few days after the fires were breaking out, and Twitter, social media had gone wild, basically saying that, is this part of Agenda 21? Here is this. Now, what universe are these people living in? Tens of thousands of Aussies engaging in Agenda 21 conspiracy on social media. Conspiracy? What conspiracy? And this is the news.com. Now, we all know the news is fake, but is it really that fake? I mean, look, this is the UN. You can go here to the UN website and you can actually download Agenda 21 and you can actually read it. Look at this up here. See, UN.org, ESA, Agenda 21, National Information, Country, Australia, and this is what we've agreed to. You can actually go through and read all of this. Okay, this is it's not a secret. They don't keep anything a secret. Okay, so Murray-Darling Basin Ministerial Council. Yes, yeah, they've done such a great job. What it means basically is that we're not actually governing ourselves. We're actually administering ourselves under a body who is governing us. And yeah, they've done such a great job, haven't they? Okay, so that's the Agenda 21 there. Now, I just want you to have a look at this. This is what I thought. I thought, are they stupid? And then I came across this, because this is China's multi-billion-dollar media campaign, a major threat for democracies around the world. Okay, so we already know that they are basically they've moved into media. Okay, so is this what's going on here? Is this why this is happening? Like, you kind of got to ask the questions. I'm just asking the questions. That's all I'm doing. Okay, so why would they basically say something that is absolutely factual and conspiracy on social media? Like, so is this what's going on? Now we know that China has weather weapons. They basically China is launching weather control machines across an area size of Alaska. So we know that they already have that. Okay. We also know that Duncan Lewis says that Chinese authorities are using espionage and foreign interference to gain influence. So they seek to take over Australia. We also know that they've bought up large squabbles of land. Now, one of the things that the Chinese, that people find a little bit difficult to understand about the Chinese is that they're not going to come in here in force, not initially. The Chinese are students of Sun Tzu, and Sun Tzu was an ancient military tactician who wrote The Art of War, and The Art of War is actually studied in most military academies around the world. It is absolutely brilliant, and he said in his lifetime that he didn't ever lose a fight. So now in Sun Tzu's Art of War, it says very clearly that it is better to win without fighting. So they're not actually fighting. If you actually have a look here, they're buying everything up. Okay? And look at this here. The Chinese company approved to run water mining operation in drought-stricken Queensland. Like, you have got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Now, this is what I came across, which is really interesting, and I think it sheds a lot of light. And I'm putting forward my hypothesis, but I don't know necessarily whether I've got enough evidence. But let's just have a look at this. This is a leaked document shows Chinese intend to commit mass genocide in America. Now, if you actually go through this, the first issue is living space. They need, what you have to understand is they're expansionists because they have to be expansionists. They have got 1.3 billion people to feed, okay? Their country, it actually says that down here a little bit further, the only way that they can survive, that the Communist Party can survive, is by continuously taking over, okay? Now it says here he's basically it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. He actually goes on to talk about Hitler and how Hitler made the mistake of fighting many wars on many fronts, and that they will not be making the same mistake. They will have one war, okay? But it actually talks about here how they actually need America's resources in order to survive. Well, Australia's far more resource rich than America. So, and if you come down here, they're weapons of choice. Okay, they realise that they don't want to actually engage in nuclear weaponry because that is just going to be destructive for them. So what they're going to do is they're going to use bioweapons, genetic bioweapons. Okay. Now this is by General. This was actually leaked from the Communist Party. This was by General Wei Fang. Okay, he's not somebody who's just sounding off. He's one of their chief strategists. So if you hear, so basically we cannot afford to wait any longer. So basically what they're talking about is they're going to use genetic weapons so that they don't wipe out their own people that are living in the United States. Okay, they're talking about genocide. Okay. Now, what's really interesting here in this interview is that Murray MP Helen Dalton talks about her ownership of water, and that it doesn't have to be declared. Now that's something that I found really interesting, because I thought, I wonder how many other people own water. Not really sure that if I can think of anyone. Can you? Now one of the things that's really important to note is that they've actually stolen the water. Under the Australian Constitution, Section 100, the Commonwealth shall not, by any law or regulation of trade or commerce, abridge the right of the state or of the residents to reasonable use of waters of rivers, for conservation or irrigation. So they're actually breaking the law. They've actually taken the water and they've monetized it and they're selling it off, and there's massive profits to be made. I wonder how many other parliamentarians have are basically doing that. Now here's a really interesting guy.
Where you can block the weather coming in, as you can see here. Good old Sydney.
What he's actually talking about is these are all of the stations around Australia, and he goes through it, and he actually charts this, and they're actually blocking the natural weather coming in. Now, there's a really good reason why they would be doing it, and I think that this is the last-ditch effort, because you see, we're actually in a global cooling. We're moving into a global cooling, okay? So we're in a solar minimum, grand solar minimum. Okay, so we're moving into, the solar minimum is coming, okay? So what it means is basically we're moving into a cooling period, a mini ice age if you like. Now, I think it's almost like there's a bit of a panic going on to stop the water coming in so that the farms or the land can be sold off. Now, as it does suit, and in as much as it does suit Agenda 21 and the UN's agenda to basically get rid of us all off the land and make sure that for sustainability purposes that we don't own any property and they move us all into cities, okay, that's what their agenda is, and you can read that for yourself. I'm not going to bother arguing with anybody or engaging in that. That's a fact, okay? But it also suits the Chinese because the basically cheap farmlands. Okay, come in and buy up cheap farmlands from poor struggling farmers. So, look, that's just this theory that I've decided to put forward. Let me know what you think of it. If you don't agree, I'm not saying that, I'm just basically hypothesising, as I said, and I just thought it was interesting, and I just thought you might like to actually know about it as well.